Hello, professor and class. Today we are going to represent the case on the signaling effect of corporate social responsibilities in emerging economies by Wai Su, Mike W. Peng, Wing Quang Tan, and Yan Leung Chung. So, Moses and I, we are going to represent this case. The outline of the presentation would be the introduction of case and the concept, the case summary, the case result. We are going to talk about the Canadian firm in context of this case study and application of the study. So first of all, what is signaling theory? It describes behavior when two parties, individuals or organizations have access to different information. Typically one party, the sender, must choose whether and how to communicate those signal, and the party, the receiver, must choose how to interpret the signal. Signaling theory is important because it reduces information asymmetry, and for doing so it becomes essential to know the views and the perception of stakeholders involved in the process so that the distortion can be eliminated. So in this case it talks about how firms signal stakeholders. Recent studies shows that firms adopting social responsible practices can decrease information asymmetries between focal firms and relevant stakeholders, and thus improving their financial performance. In line of such research implicitly assume that the CSR has similar signaling effect across different institutional environment. Given the tremendous diversity of institutional environment around the world, the effectiveness of CSR has a mechanism for mitigating information asymmetries may be altered when transmitted to a different institutional environment. Signaling theory suggests that the strength of a signal may changes for different institutional environment. Institutional voids are prevailing condition permeating emerging economies. Lacking quality information in capital and a labor product market, firms in emerging economies tend to form extensive networks such as business groups or family businesses in order to better control information. This case studies talks about two views on the signaling theory. One is the resource based view that says the firms with more CSR practices have better capabilities than those with fewer such practices. Investors may appreciate firms with more CSR practices. This argument may be particularly salient in emerging economies because firms with CSR practices such as equal employment and environment pollution control signal that they have superior capabilities for filling institutional voids. Second view is the institution based view that says single country based research to a cross country setting. It also advances a institution based view by examining how positive effect of CSR as a signal of firm's financial performance varies in different emerging economies. In this study, it has been argued that CSR practices may be a signal that reveals additional information to relevant stakeholders, especially in emerging economies. And adopting CSR practices meets two conditions for quality signal. First, it takes more cost and effort to adopt CSR practices for lower capability firms than the higher capability firms. Second, the premium for firms to engage in CSR is only sufficient to compensate the cost for high capability firms. This case has taken three hypotheses: one on CSR and the financial performance, second one is on the moderating effect for capital market development, and the third one is on the moderating effect of information diffusion. So in the first hypothesis, it has been assumed that the firm that engages in CSR signals to stakeholders the unobservable attributes that make the firm capable of filling institutional voids and considering society at large. If stakeholders value these unobservable attributes, then the relevant stakeholders may provide premiums to firms that adopt CSR practices. For example, it argues that CSR practices create positive moral capital that provides shareholder with insurance-like protection based on firm relationship-based intangible assets. It also argues that engaging in CSR shows that the firm is willing to allocate reasonable resources to maintain a sustainable relationship with the stakeholders. This endeavor is important for firm because it helps strengthen its access to critical stakeholder resources, which is especially crucial for firms in business environment that require social political legitimacy. In addition to intangible assets resulting from CSR, not only mitigate a firm's financial loss when it suffers unintended negative event, also helps firms create more opportunities with customers and business partners. The second hypothesis on the moderating effect of capital market development, it talks about stakeholders in more developed capital markets may assume that the firms are aware of social issues. There is a considerable non-CSR related information available for stakeholders to evaluate a firm's quality in the more developed market. In less developed market, because there is a less accessible information for stakeholders, information concerning a firm's CSR practices may become more useful for stakeholders in evaluating firms' potential quality and value. In less developed capital markets, stakeholders may not be able to access various information sources and rather have to rely on the firm's social awareness as embodied in the CSR practices to evaluate a firm's potential quality and value. Overall, in less developed capital market where CSR is less predominant, social awareness as evident by CSR practices may become a valuable tool for increasing a firm's financial performance. The third hypothesis talks about the institution void in capital and the labor market. Through its own bandwidth and the outlet, media can create dynamic communication with the stakeholders in terms of disclosure or surveillance. Therefore, mass communication is considered a valuable approach to circulating information among the various stakeholders. Since the concept of CSR is not as popular in emerging economies as it is in the Western countries, firms that adopt CSR practices may easily set themselves apart from others and thus attracting media attention. For this case study, they have taken the data from various sources and they have taken the data for 10 Asian countries. So the source of data was the Credit Lioness Security Asia, the CLSA Corporate Governance Report. They also taken the financial data from Thomson Reuters data stream. Institution data were collected from the World Bank World Development Indicator database. In this case study, they have taken three variables. One is dependent variable, second explanatory variable, and the third one is the control variable. The dependent variable examines whether or not CSR practices can send a positive signal to stakeholders and influences firm financial performance. The explanatory variables, in this case the dependent variable in this is the CSR measured by CSR score in CLSA reports, and in the control variable are classified in two groups. The first group consists of two institution control, GDP per capita control for national wealth that reflects national economic development, and the FDI. For the analysis, they have used the multi-level regression to examine the effect of CSR practices on subsequent financial performance in 10 emerging economies. A multi-level technique was chosen for two reasons. First, firms in different countries may be more strongly associated with the home countries, and second, in dealing with the embedded structural data, conventional ordinary least square may underestimate the standard errors, thus overestimate the estimated coefficient. So results confirm all three hypotheses. They observed the CSR score range from 0 to 10, 0 to 100 with mean of 74. It examined the variance inflation factors in order to lower the concern of multi-collinearity. It supported hypothesis CSR hypothesis 1 that CSR practices contribute to subsequent firm financial performance. It also depicted that positive relationship between CSR practices and firm financial performance generally, but the positive relationship is more salient in the less developed countries, thus supporting the hypothesis 2, suggesting that CSR practices have a higher signaling effect in less developed countries. For the third hypothesis, it also got confirmed because they observed that the lower information diffusion markets enjoy more financial benefits from CSR practices than those in the high information diffusion market.
Brookfield Renewable Partners operate one of the largest public traded decarbonization platforms in the world. A diverse portfolio consists of hydroelectric, wind, solar, and energy transition operating assets. The company owns and operates a portfolio of renewable power generating facilities, including 193 hydroelectric generating stations, 11 wind facilities, and 2 natural gas fire plants in Canada, Brazil, and US. Applications of findings. Hypothesis 1. CSR practices are positively related to firm financial performances. One way to measure Brookfield Renewable Partners' financial performance is by comparing it with returns to those of S&P 500, a widely recognized benchmark for the stock market. Over the past 5 years, Brookfield Renewable Partners had outperformed the S&P 500 with an average annual return of 17.5% compared to S&P 500 average annual return of 11.5%. This suggests that Brookfield Renewable Partners' CSR practice may have contributed to its strong financial performance over the years. By focusing on sustainable and responsible property development, the company may have been able to attract and retain tenants, increase occupancy rate, and boost revenue. Additionally, Brookfield Renewable Partners committed to CSR have helped to build a strong reputation and brand, which could have led to increased investor interest and higher stocks prices. Between Brookfield Partner return and S&P 500 return suggest that CSR practice possibly impact on a company's financial performance. Hypothesis 2. CSR practices are possibly related to firm performance in emerging economies. We will try to focus on 4 critical areas in which CSR practices are affected or have been implemented in Brookfield Partners operations in the past 5 years. Firstly, environmental sustainability. Brookfield Renewable Partners have been implementing sustainable practice to reduce its company environmental impact. Brookfield Partners operate one of the largest traded renewable power platforms in the world. In 2018, its portfolio helped to avoid 25 million tons of CO2 equivalent emissions across all its platforms in the world. The portfolio consists of hydroelectric, wind, solar, and storage facilities in North America and South America and Europe. Secondly, community development. Investing in local communities to help promote economic and social development has also formed a bedrock of Brookfield Partners Renewable Community Relations. This program focuses on its community investment program. This program provides funding to organizations and projects that align with the company values, such as environmental sustainability, economic development, and community engagement. Some examples of organizations and projects that have received funding through this program include the Nature Conservancy, which received funding to protect and restore wetlands in the Great Lakes region, the Community Foundation of Greater Dubukwe, which received funding to support local economic development and community engagement initiatives, the Sustainable Agricultural Education SAGE program, which received funding to promote sustainable farming practice and educate farmers in the North region of Africa and US. Another example of Brookfield Renewable Community Relation efforts is the Community Advice Panel program. This program brings together community leaders and representatives from Brookfield Renewable to discuss the company operations, plans, and impacts in the local area. The CAP program allows for open communication and transparency between the company and the community and allows for feedback and input from community members on the community operations. Another critical area is the health and safety, which means implementing health and safety measures to protect workers and communities. One example of Brookfield Renewable Community to Health and Develop Safety is the Comprehensive Safety Program, regular training and education for employees and contractors on the proper use of equipment and procedure to minimize the risk of accident and injuries. The company also conducts regular safety audits and inspection to ensure that all its facilities are in compliance with industry standard and regulation. Another critical example of Brookfield Renewable Emergency Response Plan, which is designed to quickly and effectively respond to any potential emergency, such as fires, flood, or chemical spills, as well as design emergency response teams that are trained and equipped to handle this type of situations. In addition, Brookfield Renewable Energy also make a strong effort to promote the well-being of community in which it operates. The company work closely with local leaders and organizations to identify and address any potential health safety concern and participate in community outreach programs that aim to educate and inform the public about the benefit of renewable energy. Another area, diversity and inclusion. promoting that. One example of this is their commitment to hiring and developing a diverse workforce. Brookfield Renewable Partners has specific goals for increasing the representation of women, minorities, and veterans in their workforce. They also have programs in place to provide training and mentorship opportunity for this group to help them advance in their career. One critical example is the company commitment to creating an inclusive and welcoming workplace for all employees. Brookfield Renewable Partners has also implemented policies and practices to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, such as providing education and training on unconscious bias and developing employee resource group for underrepresented groups. Additionally, Brookfield Renewable Partners Limited actively engage with and support communities that may be underrepresented in the renewable energy sector. They work to provide education, job training, and economic development opportunities to ensure that all communities have access to the benefits of clean energy for the workplace, with particular emphasis on critical sectors that have not been rewarded in terms of recruitment and increase customer loyalties as well as sales. Sustaining its competitiveness through CSR practice in emerging economies. Brookfield Renewable Partners can fend off competitors and increase performance in emerging economies in several ways. Community engagement and development. Brookfield Renewable Partners can actively engage with local communities in emerging economies where they operate and invest in community development projects such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure. This will not only benefit the community but also help to build positive relationships with local stakeholders and improve the company reputation. Another area is environmental sustainability. Brookfield Renewable Partners can implement sustainable practices in their operation and invest in renewable energy projects to reduce their carbon footprint and promote environmental sustainability. This will not only benefit the environment, but also help the company to comply with local regulations and attract environmentally conscious customers and investors. Another important area that Brookfield Renewable Partners can increase its performance in emerging economy is employee development and empowerment. Brookfield Renewable Partners can invest in employee development and employee programs to improve their skills and job satisfaction. This not only benefit the employee but also help to retain talented workers and improve the company productivity and performance. Another area is supplier and vendor management. Brookfield Renewable Partners can implement ethical and sustainable procurement practices and work with suppliers and vendors who share their values and commitment to CSR. This not only benefit the suppliers and vendors, but also help the company to secure better deals and improve the quality of its products and services. And lastly, is transparency and reporting. Brookfield Renewable Partners can be transparent and report their CSR activities and performance to stakeholders, including investors, customers, and employees. This will not only demonstrate the company commitment to CSR, but also help to build trust and credibility with stakeholders and improve the company reputation and performance. In conclusion, in less developed capital market, where there may be less stringent regulations and less pressure from investors and consumers to prioritize CSR, companies may still see positive financial performance from implementing CSR practices. This is because consumers and investors in this market may see value companies that prioritize sustainability and ethical practices and may be more likely to do business with them. Additionally, companies that prioritize CSR may be able to attract and retain top talent and improve their reputation, which can lead to increased productivity and sales. Thank you.